Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TVs, and movies, we go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to Jersey City, New Jersey, in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm Mr. Fantastic Travis.
Alliance
Assemble.
Assemble, Volume 111. Mr. Brent is not here. He is coming in probably hot on our heels at some point later tonight, but thankfully, Mr. Travis Hines from the Superhero Discussions DC Alliance is joining us tonight to, he'll fill in, but he'll continue when Brent returns as well.
Yeah, I'll slide into the third position there, and I'm excited for this tonight, Chris. We've had a lot less content on the DC side the past few weeks, months. I don't know that they all roll together, but I'm excited. You know, I love Marvel, and there's been banger after banger after banger lately. So I'm excited. I'm a little bummed that I missed Multiverse of Madness discussion, but you guys nailed it. It's always nice to be able to listen to a podcast because I never listen to the ones that I'm on. I just play them through. So yeah, I'm excited here tonight.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's a lighter week of news, as we're marching towards this Marvel premiering next week. So if you've heard the opening, I made that little change like I always do with premiering. So Jersey City is where she's from, so that's where we'll kind of put that as we head towards that. So the red carpet premiere is actually going on right now. So we'll see if any news comes out from that. But how's your week been so far?
It's been pretty good. Winding down my work placement here, so that's fun. And just basically enjoying Kenobi, Young Justice, and now tomorrow The Boys. Yeah, it's content abound, and I'm just enjoying that. To be honest with you, Chris.
It's a good time. Yeah, this is today as we're recording. This was the last full day of classes. So tomorrow starts exams. So that's half days for the rest of the year for the next 4 or 5 days. Graduation the next Saturday. So it's a big sigh of relief as we've made it to exams. That's what we all talk about in the high school world. Make it to exams, we should be fine. So
Summer of George is soon starting.
no, I don't want Summer of George.
Yeah.
I know how that worked out for him.
Yeah, actually, not too good.
But yeah, so let us get this show underway. Start with the network plug. So as you know, we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 8 shows. On Mondays, we've got Ranger Alliance alternating bi-weekly with Slice of Film. Slice of Film dropped their new Top Gun Maverick review. I've seen it. It is an outstanding movie, a great popcorn flick, a good way to it's the definition of a summer blockbuster. So definitely highly recommend that and check out their review after. On Tuesday, got DC Alliance Superhero Discussions on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance on Thursdays, this show on Fridays. I'll walk through the multiverse, alternating bi-weekly on Saturdays, but that will be moving to Sundays weekly in order to review the new season of The Boys. That is officially, if you're watching this live, it has already dropped on Amazon, the first 3 episodes. So Joe and probably a rotating group of panelists will be talking about those episodes. So he's got a big week ahead of him of watching those 3 episodes before the review. But that'll drop on Sundays, and so be on the lookout for that. And my show will drop monthly on Sundays, except for this June, which I'll probably drop it on a Saturday to make sure I give Joe that. But my newest episode, looking at I Kill Giants with my buddy Mitch from the Omni Buddy YouTube channel. Joined me for the first time looking at that as one of his favorite stories. So again, check that out. I Kill Giants. And but yeah, so those are all our shows on the network. And if you want to watch any of these shows live, DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube podcast channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Star Wars Alliance goes live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this show goes live at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. Each one of those shows has their own separate solo feed, separate from the main GUA feed, so we appreciate you subscribing to any and all of those shows. And if you want to join us on Patreon and throw a couple of shekels our way, we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. We've got 2 tiers. Our $1 tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you're thinking we're doing a good job. And then we've got our $5 tier, which gives you early access episodes, ad-free episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows. So as you know, listeners, we got our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch, with our 5th episode already in the can, Iron Man 2. I believe in a couple of weeks, Brent and I will be planning our review of Thor. So that'll be in the
Ooh.
next couple of weeks. So again, patrons, hope you're enjoying that lovely content. And since I've got you here, what is your next top 5, Travis?
Well, if you're peeking behind the curtain, I'm going to go away from games and comics. I'm going to give you my top 5 sports teams. So, and why I love them. There's an infinity for each one, and it's not all, don't worry, listeners, it's not all Canadian sports or anything like that.
It's
But
definitely not a mutant form of football. Nobody wants to hear about that.
yeah, yeah. Although that I could do sports game. No, I already have the list done up, so it's nice. And yeah, that'll be the next non-video game one. There's one already recorded, not edited yet. Blame work. It's annoying, but my top 5 YouTube channels, excluding Geekverse, that is already recorded but not edited yet.
All right, we'll look out for that. We've got Katie doing her Legends reviews with her husband. I know she's getting ready to drop, or I think she just dropped a new episode with that. Clay and Travis Snell are waiting for that final issue of Batman 89 to drop. I don't know when the next Multiverse Minutes is going to drop for Joe, but I know probably he'll be planning something to drop with that at that point. But again, lots of content. Always check that out. Again, thank you, patrons, for joining in and all the fun. And as last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for our omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with outstanding customer service. It answers all questions within 24 hours, if not sometimes within the hour. Immaculate packaging, shipped around the world, lots of different shipping options. These are some of the samples of the Marvel books currently on pre-order. You know, you got a reprint of the Daredevil run by Miller and Jansen coming back into print. Captain Marvel being first time in omnibus form, and as I pointed out the week before, House of M for the very first time is getting in the omnibus treatment. That is going to be one big fat omnibus. Star Wars fans, you got Dr. Aphra coming back into print. So if you want to give them their patronage, use that code MARVELGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Use it an unlimited amount of times, and lets them know that you are a listener. And again, thank you, Organic Price Books, for being our official sponsor. All right, so we do not have a kind of a big main story tonight, but our first one, it kind of definitely took me and the rest of the comics world kind of by surprise. And our first story basically is Joe Quesada, the executive and former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, has announced he is leaving Marvel Comics. And in 1998, and eventually, he became Marvel editor in 1998, and eventually the chief creative officer of the company announced he is leaving. I believe he announced it either Monday or Tuesday. He announced it via social media, and I'll read a little bit. He has been with Marvel Comics for over 20 years and is getting ready to take on a new challenge. He did not necessarily say what that challenge is yet. He's very excited about it. Quesada became known in the 1990s for his work on the Valiant titles before moving into Marvel and DC comics with such as Batman, Sword of Azrael, and X-Factor, before forming his own company, Event Comics, with Jimmy Palmiotti, to publish his own comics, including Ash. In 1998, Joe Quesada joined Jimmy Palmiotti as editor at Marvel Comics, Marvel Knights line, before becoming editor-in-chief of Marvel in 2000. Quesada was named the chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment in 2010, just after the birth of the Marvel Cinematic Universe created a wave of new projects that he and his editors were responsible for. He left his editor-in-chief role in 2011, being replaced by Axel Alonso. His position was retitled as Executive Vice President and Creative Director in 2019. He says in his letter to the fans, "When I first jumped into the world of comics, my goal was to create my own characters, stories, and universes." And he posted that, and then one day Marvel made me an offer and changed my trajectory for my life forever. During his time, he oversaw a number of major innovations and overhauls of the line. He largely became responsible for the One More Day, the controversial Spider-Man story that removed Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson's marriage from continuity and allowed a soft reboot of the series. He also rolled out Marvel Max, a mature reader's label with Brian Michael Bendis, and looked to his indie roots and took risks on creators such as John, Bendis, Michael Omeg, and others who brought a new energy to the House of Ideas. Quesada is also widely credited, or depending on who you want to ask at that point, sometimes criticized for embracing stories that were written with a collected editions in mind. Writing for a trade is sometimes criticized for devaluing single issue comics, but has become the most popular means of delivering content stories. Quesada also oversaw the move to day and date digital releases, something that has become now has become the industry standard. So many may ask, what's next for Joe Quesada? He said in his letter, now, this doesn't mean you're getting rid of me easily. I won't ever be too far away, cheering for my Marvel family and contributing from time to time, including something I'm thrilled about later this year. I have also several insanely cool projects of my own that you'll be hearing about in the coming months, including a short indie film I'm writing and directing. Stay tuned. It's been one hell of a ride. I'm proud to have been part of Marvel's rags to riches story and satisfied I've accomplished the job I was hired to do 22 years ago. Seriously, where did the time go? But none of this happens without the one very important person, you. My family and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Without your love and support, we wouldn't have been able to go on this crazy adventure, and I hope you join us for the next one. I promise you it's going to be amazing. So, yeah, Joe Quesada has just been synonymous, like I said, for 22 years, and the amount of direction he took Marvel Comics into. I mean, he is, kind of become known as Mr. Marvel Comics for what he's done. I mean, it's quite amazing what he helped industries or what people criticize him for. So, what did you feel about this announcement?
It's kind of time when you spend 20 years in the same, I wouldn't say same position, but same place doing the same sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't so much you can evolve from. Like, he seems like he kind of stretched every point that he could in Marvel Comics. And he has had some executive producer credits for some of the Marvel TV shows as well. And it sounds like him writing and directing his own short film that this. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to see that. Chris, if he didn't take control of Marvel Comics and someone else did, and they made different decisions, this could be a whole different ballgame here. Like, the whole trajectory of Marvel could have been completely different. So he deserves credit, and I hope that the Marvel fandom Marvel Comics fandom and Marvel fandom in general will get out and support his next endeavor,
Mm-hmm.
because let's just not forget about him, because he was really crucial to a lot of things. But it just seems like he's done everything that he could do.
Yeah, and especially with the way Marvel's kind of, changing, not necessarily changing directions, but, with Kevin Feige being kind of overseeing a lot of stuff now at that point, it's kind of like, okay, well, that it's a new era in Marvel Comics at that point. It kind of brings us to our only question of the night. From Amari Daniels at the other Big O. He asked, with Joe Quesada's departure, what's the one thing during his tenure at Marvel Comics that you'll remember the most? Besides, obviously, and this is him poking fun at Brent and I because he knows how much we don't talk about this and don't like it one more day. I'll always remember his Daredevil art. One of the things, and I'll kind of get into comics in a minute, but kind of what the article I brought up reading from is two things. One, the putting digital and comic book physical on the same day that many like or don't like, but it hasn't brought physical collecting dead at that point. It's in fact, it's actually increased the number of readers to actually the genre itself. When the pandemic happened, more people thought, oh my gosh, this is when physical shops are going away. It hasn't. A few have gone under, but it's found a way to survive. And then the other one is, as I brought up, putting collected editions at the forefront, building stories to be collected. Marvel was one of the ones at the forefront of this, thanks to Quesada, and a lot of DC has been following suit. A lot of people, again, they build arcs for the. I mean, Marvel, I think, puts out their trade editions of these within 3 months of wrapping up a arc. I mean, that's how the machine is. And then when they get enough of it, they put it in an omnibus. I mean, this is a big thing. I mean, Marvel I mentioned him before, and he's been a guest on World's Finest True Believers. My friend Omar, who does Near Mint Conditions, I mean, he worked with Marvel, and they give him heads up on being exclusive with those collected editions. I mean, they just put out for the very first time the quickest. They're doing an omnibus for the Beyond storyline of Spider-Man.
Really?
That is like the soonest, quickest, most recent arc of to put in an omnibus format. So
How are the sales of that? How have the sales of that been before?
it hasn't been official. It's been solicited, but it doesn't go to pre-order until next month.
Okay, just
So
curious.
basically later this month, when this one so it's probably end of June, you'll be able to pre-order it at that point. So it just brings the thing, like, he is a very business minded person that kind of pushed that. And again, some people criticize it about the idea, but again, a lot of times, like me, I'm out of the single issues. That's the only way. I either read it digitally or I do the collected editions, and that's how I read. But if I were to pick, something from his tenure at um, Marvel Comics that I really enjoyed, I would say that, one of the things, his art style is somewhat depends on the character. Like when we read One Moment in Time, the story Brent and I both really enjoyed. When he had his art, it just wasn't clicking with Spider-Man, in our opinion. But if I were to pick the idea, yeah, I would say Daredevil. His stuff on Daredevil
With
with
Kevin
Kevin
Smith
Smith, and
was.
then his miniseries Daredevil Father was very, very good. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't hate that he retconned Mary Jane and Peter's wedding because I like giving new writers a chance to craft new stories. I like breaking away from that. So I'm gonna be honest with you, shaking that up and also pissing off Brent. I think that's gonna get my
okay,
vote.
it ticks me off too. Again, I hate that story as much.
You're a casualty in this war of on your left, Chris. You're a casualty.
Yeah, to get that in.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's going to be very interesting. Marvel will continue on at that point. I did have the opportunity to meet Joe Quesada at the Heroes Convention almost 10 years ago. Very nice guy, very passionate. He, signed my Sword of Azrael collected edition, a few other single issues of the covers. Like, he's more known like for his covers. Like, I'm looking at the list of covers that he's responsible for. I mean, his covers are
It was
immense.
longer than his uh, comic list. It was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. I was blown away.
Yeah, so it's the passing of a torch and end of an era at Marvel Comics, but it is definitely one that is his legacies is secure at Marvel, and he was always one to enjoy his time. I remember, again, at the same convention I met Joe Quesada, I met Dan DiDio, and a lot of people in DC, just like Joe Quesada, either you love Dan or you don't. But both of them are very passionate. Both of them hung out together. Um, you know, two people in the industry that have now left their respective big two companies. But I'll be interested to see what he does next. I'm interested to see what this short film is, and thank you, Joe, for kind of bringing Marvel to the forefront again and revitalizing it, and wish you luck in your new endeavors. So all right, so our next topic. Yes, if you're watching it live, I've switched the banners. The hashtag is coming out. Yes, Madam Webb is the blueprint. We've got some Madam Webb news. Travis, are you excited? Are your spidey senses tingling with this?
This is like Thor trailer last week. Uh, I was saying Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight, and this is the news that I get. Madam Web is getting Sony to death here. No, I honestly, with the star power, I think that they actually could do something. I'm
Hmm.
more on Dakota Johnson than anyone else, but I, I I don't know what this movie is about, Chris. I'm going to need to hear a synopsis before I can
Yeah.
even go a quarter of the way in. And Morbius has me very apprehensive.
Yep. Well, this is an exclusive from Deadline. Isabela Merced as the latest to join Dakota Johnson in the Madam Web movie from Sony Pictures. So she is joining Sydney Sweeney and Celeste O'Connor for director S.J. Clarkson's movie at this point. Sony had no comment, and Merced's role is unknown. A recent description of Madame Webb revealed that the film will be an origin story of the clairvoyant Madame Webb, whose psychic abilities allow her to see within the spider world. Merced, she will next be seen in Warner Brothers' remake of Father of the Bride with Andy Garcia and Gloria Estefan. That will be a HBO Max exclusive. I actually saw the first trailer for that. I'm a huge fan of the original, the sequel with Steve Martin. Um, Watching the trailer, I'm intrigued. It's just the concept of Father of the Bride, but I like the update they're doing. I find it, they are not rehashing the same thing over again. They're bringing an interesting twist. So I'll probably be the first thing I kind of see her recently in. She stars as Juliet in the upcoming feature Rosaline from 20th Century revisionist Romeo and Juliet tale opposite Caitlin Dever. She's filming the lead in Turtles All the Way Down, the film adaptation of John Green's best-selling novel. Other recent works for her include the Netflix original motion picture Sweet Girl alongside Jason Momoa, and Merced also was the voice of Lucky Prescott in DreamWorks animation Spirit Untamed. So, as you said, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and now Isabela Merced, that is a very, very big group of young actresses. And, without the inclusion of Spider-Man, it will be very interesting to see what this story kind of takes place. A common theory is that Sydney Sweeney may be playing a variant of Gwen Stacy. I've seen that one. Webb's connection to the other spiders. It's going to open up a lot of possibilities. I mean, you can't talk Madam Web without bringing in the Spider-Verse. Hence why we say hashtag Madam Web is the blueprint. So this could be very, very a chance for them to unite all these different spider people and kind of make a bigger movie on the horizon. I don't know. What do you think?
You know how anytime in GUA chat, there's things that come up. Some people question the MCU, and
Mm-hmm.
they're always like, "Well, I don't know about this or this could." Like, some people are apprehensive, and what do I always say? I trust Kevin Feige. I trust
Well,
him
this
to make
isn't
the right
Kevin
decisions.
Feige.
This is what I'm getting to. I
Okay.
have no faith in this at all. I
Oh,
want it to
shame
be
on
good.
you.
I want it to be good. I will say I saw her in the movie with Jason Momoa for
Okay.
30 minutes, and she was my favorite part. She had me completely emotionally connected with her and hoping that everything would turn out good for her in that film. I didn't get to finish the film, but she took over more than Jason Momoa for me in that film. So that when I was reading down through that and I saw that clicked into me, I was like, I saw 30 minutes of that film and she was fantastic. So bring on as many great actresses as you can. Only can be do good. I don't know, what do you think they're going to do, Chris, in terms of story here? Like, what will they draw from? Because you can't really say because of Morbius. Like, what did they cite in Morbius? Do you like? Was it pretty accurate to? Because that's a comic I've never read.
Yeah.
Is Morbius?
Well, like you said, it's one of these things that we don't know what the kind of overarching plan for Sony is with these the Sony Marvel character universe at that point. So Craven's up next, and followed by this. I mean, this has got a summer release,
I,
and
honestly, I feel like the Sony universe is like in the Dark Knight Rises when they're walking out on the ice. I feel like that's what the Sony universe is right now, taking each and every step, like not unsure of each step because it could sink them. And I
well,
hope that this film does not do that. So,
well. I mean, again, if you've been following the lovely meme culture with Morbius and things like that, they're re-releasing Morbius in 1,000 theaters, I think, in the next week or so. So get ready.
yeah, hold on. I watched that and reviewed that for here. Like, it's nice you guys have your like you film universe that you can make fun of, along with a film universe that you can love. Like, you get the best of both worlds.
Hey, the film. I agree with Brett. The film was fine, and Matt Smith's dance number in it was some of my most favorite stuff about that. Because
in a
that was
Morbius film.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yet it's again that we have not even seen any kind of. I haven't even heard yet when it's starting to film, but we're getting more and more castings at this, so they got to be pretty close to it.
Yeah, let's
So,
just hope they get up and running on this one. But I'm interested to see. this is one that I think could connect somehow to other Spider-Man and Spider-Man. You might even see
Mhm.
glimpses of them at the very end of the movie. Who knows? Like they could be building towards something, or not at all. Like
Yeah,
they you know,
you never know.
hopeful there, I guess.
Exactly. Well, we'll continue our casting news, and we're heading to the world of She-Hulk. So, She-Hulk's Disney Plus show cast the flight attendant actor. Entertainment Tonight revealed that the Marvel Studios has added Matthews to the cast of the upcoming She-Hulk show, which will premiere on Disney Plus on Wednesday, August 17th. He currently plays a supporting role in the Emmy-winning The Flight Attendant alongside Harley Quinn star Kaylee Cuoco. Griffin shared with the outlet how thrilled he is to join the MCU, never having imagined that he would have the opportunity before. He said, "Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever join the Marvel Universe. This was never a genre I thought an actor like me in my package could fit into." Part of the excitement comes from the team behind She-Hulk, giving him as he said, the most exciting part about joining it was being told by our director and writers, "Do not try to fit, just be you," and they gave me the freedom to run wild.
But, that's not what Marvel does. That's not at all. I thought Kevin Feige ruled everything with an iron fist and made up. Oh, that's just a silly nonsense that people say.
Well, again, I understand what they mean in the sense of like quote unquote, Kevin being in the editing room and things like that. But, it hasn't been, some people like it. A lot of people like it. Some people don't. And that's the way it is. But, the idea of, again, he's going to be a kind of a recurring character in this. So the question is, what is he going to play? He could be one of Jennifer Walters' coworkers or one of the guys she dates, as seen at the end of the first trailer. So it's clear on how many episodes he'll appear in, although information should be more readily available as the series moves to closer, as we get closer to it. Um, it's again, I've seen The Flight Attendant. I like what he's done in it. At that point, I have no theories or ideas what it's going to be, but again, I'm glad I like how excited he is. I love it that they're giving, growing stars in their own right these parts. So yeah, hey.
Representation as well, Chris, as he said.
Mhm.
Never in my wildest dreams I think I would join the Marvel Universe. Like an actor like me would in
Mhm.
my package could fit into this. So like that's what I like about them. They do really bring in really great talented actors and actresses. And I haven't seen The Flight Attendant. That's on my list. I think that's a myself and my girlfriend kind of watch. She wants to watch it as well. Uh, but I just I hope that there's some villains that She-Hulk goes up against, so maybe he can be one of those. But that's one of the things I do enjoy about the MCU. They don't really kill a whole like they do save some of their villains, i.e., Abomination, that we'll get to see in this. So
Mhm.
I hope that we get some more like villains added to the rotation that we could see down the line too in various other like products. So hopefully he is one of those.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Again, it's going to be a different kind of genre, a different type of show for them to do. So, but yeah, so we'll check that out. And our last bit of casting news, as I change the background at this one, let's head into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and they cast a Suicide Squad star into the film. So, Deadline, this is another exclusive coming from Deadline, announced that the Suicide Squad star Daniella Melchor, who played Ratcatcher 2, will be appearing in a minor role in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Details on her role aren't known, but at the very least, it is known that she won't be portraying Moondragon, something confirmed by the director James Gunn last year. Now, you always got to be careful when you're putting out news because Mr. Gunn does pay attention, and you can get gunned from time to time at that
That
point.
goes both ways for him though, because when he doesn't gun you, you're like, am I right? Or
Oh
were they
yes,
right? Hmm.
oh yeah, and in this case, he quote tweeted the story, and he said, "I can confirm she's wonderful in the role. That she is one of my favorite people and actors around, and I hope this is just the second of many projects we work together." She also responded to the announcement and saying on Twitter, "Oh my, OMG, I'm shocked with this tweet, and this secret just got out. I'll keep your kind words in my heart, James Gunn. And yes, I can confirm too that I am in Guardians, baby." She later went on to Instagram and said, I guess it's out. So blessed to have the opportunity to work again with the person that discovered me and completely changed my life a few years ago. It's one of my favorite people and directors, too. Seriously, and I can't wait to work with him again and again and again. I think we can both say that she was definitely one of the highlights of the Suicide Squad, and her as we know, James Gunn frequently works with his friends, works with his people that he likes using over and over again. And she had been rumored to be joining this project for a time, and it's nice for it to finally officially be confirmed by this. So, what do you feel about her? Even though it's a minor role, what do you feel about her inclusion in the Guardians' final volume under James Gunn?
Well, like you said, she was, in my opinion, she was the heart of the Suicide Squad film that Gunn put out, and she was fantastic in that. So, while it's a small part, I don't doubt her ability to connect with the audience. So, uh, I'm excited. I think she's fantastic. It kind of makes me wish we'd get more Ratcatcher too, but that's a topic for another podcast. Uh, but I can't wait for this film, Chris. This is his swan song with Guardian 3. And like you said, just working with people you're used to. Hey, hey, hey.
Look at that
Hey,
timing.
hey.
Look at that timing. I text the man saying, "How's it looking?" And here he is.
You did. Look at that. Like, I just got that. Nice.
Same thing he did to me when I showed up. A text just as I walked in.
I am here. I have made it. What are we talking about?
We are on Guardians of the Galaxy. Our lovely Ratcatcher 2 actress, Daniella Melchor, joining the cast.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, that's pretty cool. She was good in Suicide Squad, so it'll be nice to see what they do with her there. And James Gunn, he gets his people that he's a fan of, and he just keeps using them, and nothing wrong with that.
Chemistry.
Hearing some rumors, again, since it said it should be playing a minor part in the movie, I've seen the Fivel being a artificially created offspring from Captain Marvel could be a part for her. The connection between Marvel may likely be changed at that point, since Adam Warlock is going to be a main part in this movie, so they may throw a connection in there. You could also looking at the High Evolutionary's creation, since there's also a rumor of the High Evolutionary being in this movie as well. Another role for her would be Lila. The character is a sentient creation, much like Rocket. She has a key connection with Rocket, obviously, and the two can become each other's love interest in the comics. So that could be also an interesting move.
And Gunn said no to Moondragon, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, he has denied that up and down and says that is not her role.
Okay.
So it could have been interesting, but yeah, I think one of the problems with that the connection with Rocket is Melkor wouldn't likely be needed on the set at any point, much like Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper have never stepped on the set of Guardians. So since she's been on set, she probably definitely has a non-focal voice part. So,
Well, I like the Phyla-Vel idea.
Mm-hmm. Even if they change it around, we get the idea of it, us as fans. So
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So since you just joined us, how's your week been?
Good. Super busy. Big stuff at work, but we somehow amazingly this year had a week between the end of regular school and summer school starting, which is more time than my department has ever had. So like I haven't stayed till 11 at night or 1 in the morning one time, unlike last year. So
That's a positive.
It's steps in the right
it's
direction.
like we're busy, but we have the time to get it all done, which is nice.
All right. Well, our last story of the evening is Fantastic Four related. So this is coming from Deadline's Justin Kroll. Kind of went to Twitter late. Was it last night before? He goes on and says, some late night Fantastic Four directing search updates. While it's easily Marvel's top priority, one source says don't expect it to be filled anytime soon, as they are not even close to cutting down the long list of candidates. Who said, I'd be shocked if a choice is made before Labor Day. While no names have been surfaced, multiple sources have told him that it's a large mix of candidates. Feige and company are taking a lot of shots at some big names. One source close to the process says Kevin doesn't want to oversee the entire shoot, and after not having to worry about that with Raimi, he is very game to get to that same outcome with Fantastic Four. That says a lot for him. I mean, I know, he had a prior relationship with Raimi, working with him when he was doing Spider-Man at that point. So, yeah, when you have a more established director that comes with a pedigree, that is something there. But being that Fantastic Four, everyone's kind of anticipating like how is Marvel going to make the Fantastic Four a viable property again at that point. And again, I'm not passing shots. I'm just being kind of frankly honest. Most of the thing that Marvel has touched in their quote unquote B and C list, even sometimes D list characters at that point have kind of risen to the top. Now, Fantastic Four is, known as Marvel's first family. And I think, it's cliched at this point, but the best Fantastic Four movie that we've all seen is The Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
Yeah. So when that kind of comes up, when John Watts left, the question is who could possibly be on this list of big time swings?
I mean, it's a good question. Who's going to replace John Watts when John Watts when he left, a lot of people were like, oh, maybe it's Krasinski or maybe they have someone else in mind already. And clearly, like, if this is to, to be trusted, what's coming from him at Kroll, it probably is. Clearly, they didn't have someone else in mind immediately to step in and take over for Watts. I mean, if it was Krasinski, that would already be a thing. And he's saying maybe not until Labor Day, even if these reports are months behind. I don't know. That's the biggest surprise to me. Is I honestly kind of thought when Watts left that they already had an idea who's going to step in. So that's the biggest surprise to me.
And I think that you and I even kind of talked about it because it's like one of those things that Watts didn't get up and said, oh, yeah, I'm out. That seems to be something like with all this news, usually this is like a month or two late when it finally gets out. That's been planning all in the game since. It's got to be Scorsese. I mean, it's cinema, right?
Yeah, that would be.
And he says, go on, Feige, I dare you. Well,
take some big swings.
Yep. What about you, Travis?
Honestly, I can see after working with Raimi that he would do that if he's had a little bit of, like, I don't know, but trouble because they haven't had any misses, in my opinion, like financially anyway, or view wise. Maybe they want more, but
I think the one that everyone kind of thinks about is Eternals right now.
Yeah, I guess. But what did that make? What did that end with? Fun, like box office wise?
Let me look.
Brent can look that up. I mean,
I was getting ready to look up the Doctor Strange numbers, but 400 million, just over.
But yeah, even with the Disney Plus shows, a lot of them have young or up and coming people running those shows. So maybe he just wants to get an established person in there. I'd be interested to see, does it depend on the genre, the filmmaker he picks, or like, if he doesn't get a big swing, will he go with someone else like Christopher Nolan?
I mean, he doesn't always.
Good job,
he doesn't
Ryan.
always take from the obvious place. I mean, look at the Russos. They came from like TV sitcom worlds and
Community
jumped in Community. Yes, thank you. And they jumped in to 4 of the coolest comic book movies there are, and they're totally different than the background they came from. So it's not like he's only looking for people from family shows about superheroes or something like that.
No, big time directors that, like, I'm trying to even think, what does that mean now in this day and age?
Well, you got to think about it, because when you go into these meetings, when you get called in, when Feige gives you a call, hey, are you interested in this? Come in at X time and give us your pitch at that point. So it's all about what do they have to do, and whether, Feige probably has an idea in his mind, like what he would like to see. But that's the whole part. Can the director either fall in line with that idea that he has, or bring in something? Getting a quote-unquote established director. Again, I enjoyed Eternals. It's not on the top of my list, but people may say, well, Chloe Zhao is an established director in the sense of, Academy Award winning. It may not, again, I think time will tell with Eternals, depending on where we see where they kind of pop up next, where they go into, how does that movie kind of pick up next. So it's this idea of, where are we going with the Fantastic Four? Is this going to be a family at a time, or are we going to put them in the modern day and do a modern day retelling of this at that point? All in the Game is bringing up Denis Villeneuve is going to abandon Dune. Yeah, I literally saw some pretty people I kind of trust and follow at that point throwing that name out there. I couldn't tell if they were. I hope they were kidding, because I don't. I think he's fine. As we mentioned earlier, the best Fantastic Four movie is The Incredibles. I've seen Brad Bird's name thrown out there.
Oh, I like that idea.
Wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, and I like that. Again, Feige's gotten big name actors and actresses to join these projects that would be like, oh my gosh, I mean, you name a lot of the people that have, like, Michael Douglas is one. Like, I would never have thought I've seen Michael Douglas in a Marvel movie, and yet here we are.
Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale. It's Marvel's got a pedigree of, hey, even if you just do one movie, it still sets you up not only financially, but if it goes well, people say remember you for that too. It will be interesting to see how long this list is, because again, we don't even have a year plan for Fantastic Four. I think the only thing I'll at least say, this will be the movie that ends Phase 4. I feel fairly confident at this point that this will be the last movie in Phase 4.
That's definitely the general consensus about it.
So, besides the operative thing, Fantastic Four ending in Phase 4, but again, this is a process that sounds like we're lucky if we somehow get. I mean, do you all think? I mean, this could be a fact or fiction in the making. Basically, do you all think? Do we even hear about a director being chosen by the end of this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, Labor Day's, I don't know the exact date, but it's early September, right? So there's still plenty of time to get to the end of the year. Yes. Do I think we'll hear about it, like, say, at Disney Plus Day? Probably not. But by the end of the year, yeah, I think it'll come out.
Well, D23 basically is like this. Was it the same week or like a week later from Disney Plus Day, if I'm not mistaken? Because I think we were making some comments about that in our GUA chat.
Trying to find when it is. Okay, it looks like it's that same weekend.
Okay, so yeah, so it probably, they could like wait a day or two and really announce it then, but they could find someone that could really just connect at that point. So it could be.
Yeah, that would be a good time for it. They can avoid doing it on the 8th, which would be Disney Plus Day, because it's not going to be a Disney Plus thing, and then drop it that Friday or Saturday at D23.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll just have to see. But hey, wish them luck on their director finds. Not necessarily they have to prove themselves. It's going to be interesting to see what it is. If Kevin doesn't want to, oh yeah, and happy birthday, Mr. Feige. 49 years old apparently today.
Yep, shares the birthday with my daughter.
Oh, there we go. So happy birthday, Brent's daughter.
Yeah.
That's why I'm late. Tonight.
There we go. But yeah, we'll have to see. But that is all the news for this week. And you know what? We're going to take our first and probably only ad break of the evening at this point, since we've got a short show. So as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and we could be a bit loud, so I'm going to give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So while I put that little time code in there, I'm going to pull up the Fact or Fictions from last week, since we only had one listener question, and we already kind of answered that with Joe Quesada leaving. Brent, while I'm setting up Fact or Fictions, what do you think about, what are your thoughts on Mr. Quesada leaving?
One of those end of an era things. The question, if I remember right, was Omari Daniels, right, asking basically like what we think about with Quesada's work. He had mentioned the artwork. I know his tweet with this had a picture of Daredevil. Immediately I thought of the Guardian Devil arc. I don't know if you guys mentioned that, but that's immediately what I thought of, written by Kevin Smith. Just a fantastic story. Yeah, Quesada, he's been a Marvel mainstay for so long. Like, it's weird. Like, I was not expecting that at all. But, at least in my opinion, he did more good than bad for the company. So ultimately, appreciate his service to Marvel, and curious to see what he's gonna do from here.
Yeah. So, all right. So, fact or fictions from last week. So, number 1, Thor: Love and Thunder will top Thor: Ragnarok at the box office. 83% said fact, 17% said fiction. What about you, Mr. Hines? What do you say about that?
I said fact.
All right. Number 2.
I've already voted on all of these.
Oh, I know you did. If Gore is killed in Thor: Love and Thunder, it will be Jane, aka the Mighty Thor, who gets the killing blow. 70% said fact, 30% said fiction.
70% fact.
70%. All right. And let's see if you go all chalk on this one. Number 3, Rosario Dawson as Claire Temple will appear in the new Daredevil Disney Plus show. 59% said fact, 41% said fiction.
I said fiction on that one because of her work with Ahsoka. It's going to be too much.
She's already in the Disney family.
She can't handle it.
I honestly don't think Ahsoka is gonna derail that much from it because the part would be so small in Daredevil. You got to assume, and Ahsoka's what? So we think 6 episodes, or I don't know if it was confirmed. Even if she pops up a couple times in Mando or whatever, she could still do it.
Yeah. So, all right, Mr. Hines, as always, the guest does the fact or fictions for this week. So what do you got?
Yeah, we're getting close to Simpsons did it type levels here with fact or fiction and picking ones you guys have never ever touched before. Tom Holland will wear the iconic black symbiote suit in his next Spider-Man film. We don't even know if he's going to have a next Spider-Man film, but I'm a positive man here.
He'll be back, but
I'm afraid I might have said this one myself before, so I'm going to hold it till the third. I've been out here quite a few times.
I think it's okay as long as it's not week to week or whatever, because information changes, things change, movies come out.
I got another really good one too.
I will say in that next trilogy, I don't think it'll be the first one in that new trilogy.
End credit scene as well. That's Todd.
I'm going fiction. Now, do I think it's possible before he's done? Yes. His next movie? No.
Yeah. Okay. So it's his next movie, not the next
solo Spider-Man movie.
Okay,
not his next appearance. Not like the next Avengers.
Then no, I'm a fiction just because I think it'll happen in the trilogy. I just don't think it's the next one.
I'm basing that purely on the end credit scene too, where we saw a piece of symbiote. So I'm just throwing that together.
I'm looking through my old fact or fictions now. And I'm like, oh, I got this one right. We will see Jameson's broadcast in Far From Home from a different project. We did at the end of Venom. The Venom credit scene. What's your next one?
So look at Sony help me right like that. The Fantastic Four will appear in an episode of What If.
Fantastic Four. What? Say it again.
The Fantastic Four will appear in an episode of What If.
Do you mean season? Ever, or is there a time limitation?
Well,
on
I didn't know if there was 3 seasons. I kind of wanted to say seasons 2 and 3. I think they'll get a 3rd season because I didn't want to say unlimited series because that's kind of giving me a really big out here. In the next 2 seasons, we'll say.
I'll say fact. I'd feel a lot more confident if you had said in a presumed 3 seasons out, but by the end of season 3, I'm going to say fact.
Especially with how long animation takes to churn out.
Well, that's the thing. We got What If last year. We're getting What If again this year. And if anything, if they want to keep What If kind of a yearly kind of thing, I'm going to say fiction because of that reason. If they hold to it, then we haven't had an official confirmation of a season 3. But
we have other animated projects coming next year.
Do.
So that could
give them some cover. Time. Yeah, that could give them some cover. So
X-Men, Spider-Man.
Yep. So I'll say I'm gonna go fiction. I'm still gonna go fiction on that.
Okay. I don't think I used this one before. Maybe I have.
Now wait a minute. What do you stand on it?
I got fact.
Okay, you got fact? Okay.
Yeah. Every one of these I've chosen, I've picked fact.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I kind of based it around.
Gotcha.
Spider-Man, I'm not sure I may have said this. Spider-Man from Spider-Man the Animated Series will appear in an episode of X-Men the Animated Series Revival.
Oh, the heart wants it.
Yes.
And not just that one, and not just like in Dark Phoenix when Dark Phoenix.
No, not when he just swings around for a second. Yeah, no. And you see Thor in the distance for half a second. No.
Those were good. Oh, man. like Brent says, the heart wants it, but I'm going to be
Yeah.
Debbie Downer. I'm going to say fiction.
I'm afraid that Sony will have to keep him for like Into the Spider-Verse, but maybe that'll come out before X-Men, and then we'll get to see him.
Well, I'm gonna say fiction, but like, so if Sony were to keep him for Into the Spider-Verse, I think that would be Marvel signing off on it.
Yeah.
And so, but play nice together. That may be fine. I'm gonna go fiction. But man, that'd be nice someday.
I gotta pivot 1 second. Do you think if X-Men the animated series is successful for them on Disney Plus, do you think that's like a good chance we might get Spider-Man the animated series because of that?
I mean, it doesn't hurt it. Certainly. I mean, it certainly. I mean, they are
Those are
connected,
the two.
and
Those
so
are the two.
if you bring back one and it is successful, that shows the appetite is there for that era of storytelling. Then yeah, sure, it's certainly plausible, and it wouldn't conflict with Spider-Man freshman year. So
No,
Yeah.
it's completely different Spider-Man, and they're completely different. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we will post those on Sunday afternoon, so make sure to give your voice ad. I think this is where you're going to be bowing out, Mr. Hines. As we
Yes,
have the
I
Comic
am.
Book Club. So, but yeah, thank you for subbing in. As
yes, thank you very much, Travis.
Oh, no problem. It was my
appreciate your
pleasure.
time as always. The door and the chair are always open at that point. But tell people how they can follow you and plug your lovely shows.
First of all, apologies for bringing the DC Alliance curse of content to you guys this episode, because when I decided that I was going to come on, clearly it brought the juju of not the greatest stories compared to the last few weeks. But I still had a great time, Chris. Thanks for having me. And Brent, thanks for asking me to fill in. You can find me on Twitter at Travis_156. Drop me a line. We can chat anytime. I also host 2 shows on the network, DC Alliance with Clay and Superhero Discussions, where we're winding down with Young Justice. We have the finale next week. I'm going right now to watch the penultimate episode as I get ready for bed. So, yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Later.
It's funny. Both Hines and Snell mentioned today about how there's not as much news and stuff right now, right? And I'm like, they do know there's a new show next week, right?
They do.
I'm like, it's fine. We're good.
Hey, it's always a little dicey when we go in between content phases at this point. What news will come out? But again, as the Miss Marvel red carpet is going on right now, so maybe some news will pop up for that. But All in the Game put this in, and I think it goes with our director chat for Fantastic Four. Understandably, wants to keep doing his own projects, but would be nice to have Jordan Peele in the MCU. Hope he knocks it out with the Park of No. I just got an alert from on Twitter that apparently a new teaser for that trailer just dropped during the NBA Finals. So I'm a day one for that one. I'm a Jordan Peele fan, and that's when my wife saw she couldn't even make it 20 seconds into that trailer she hadn't even seen anything. She's like, nope, that's the most appropriate name for that. I'm out. So she can't even watch the teaser for it, and nothing scary had legitimately happened in that movie. I think Jordan Peele's done his good work on that one.
Sounds like it.
So, but all right. So issue number 5, Comic Book Club Annihilation. We are marching. We got one more issue left, but as we said, we'll do the 2 aftermath issues to kind of wrap up the series. But the penultimate of the main line. Some hell's breaking loose with this one.
Yeah, I love the image of just Drax standing there at the start, bloody hand and stuff, just chilling, holding, just squeezed out Thanos' heart from his chest. No big deal. And it's like the realization that comes to him is like, oh, I screwed up. Like we needed him for at least a little while longer.
Well, it takes a lot of convincing to say that. What do you mean I screwed up? I did what I was made to do.
Yeah.
I killed Thanos. But he starts putting things together. Oh, I can hotwire this. Let me just get out the Silver Surfer and make it.
Yeah, I do like that.
It hot wires it, and then again we get it's almost like almost every single issue we have gotten an amazing Galactus splash page, and this is also.
You could definitely make some cool posters, and this. Yeah. I mean, this one, get rid of the speech bubble, which says no fear, as in no as in knowledge. But it's just beautiful artwork. We've talked about it before, but yeah, like you could get some amazing posters out of this.
And this is just, the art, the coloring for this basically a war arc. They do a great job with the splash pages. We get some time with Ronan, the Super Skull. They have some great banter back and forth with each other.
I really like the two of them together. It's like they're definitely not like. I mean, it's totally the enemy of my enemy scenario, but I really like the way those two play off each other. Like Super Skrull's like, "Can I kill him? Can I get him?" And Ronan's just like, "No, shut up."
It's my people at that point, and man, he takes that accuser hammer and just takes down Annihilus's minion.
Yes. Oh yes.
But it's a end of an era for him in the sense of the supreme intelligence is basically done for. And
yeah, I mean he kills it.
yeah,
So.
and basically says like, no, it can't be that way. You're in charge now, and it's just like from going from basically an outlaw of the Kree to now ruling over the Kree Empire. I mean, he's had quite an arc in this the prelude issues to where he is now.
Yeah, such an like striking panel of just all the Kree in front of him chanting his name, Ronan, just chanting, and he's just like, "Oh man, what do we do now?"
Yeah, especially these we've had basically almost 2 issues where we haven't seen much of Star-Lord, Nova. I mean, it's been moving. The next issue is going to have to be. I mean, the cover of it is Nova at that point, but it's been mostly we get a little of them in the beginning, like we do in this issue, kind of planning their basically last stand, and then we move on to other characters at that point. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this wraps up with them being kind of the focal point at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, because this series had the 4 minis that led into it, so you kind of need to give each of those good screen time, or good panel time, I guess would be more appropriate.
But yeah, so next week we wrap up the mainline series, and as we said, we'll do the 2 Aftermath issues after that before Brent and I have to put our heads together and we make the choice for the next comic book club.
Are those Aftermath issues the Herald's one?
I will have to go back and look. So
I was trying to find, like, I found an Annihilation Heralds of Galactus, but I couldn't remember if that was also the Aftermath or if there was something else.
We will have to talk offline and make sure to confirm that. So
okay, good deal.
Yep. But all right. Well, again, a quick episode, but again, we make the time work at that point. Hope you've definitely enjoyed it. But yeah. So next week we get content back. At that point, we will get episode 1 of Miss Marvel.
Yeah, our long drought is over. Finally.
I know, gosh, it's probably our shortest kind of in between period of time between a movie and the next project.
Well, especially when you factor in, like, we got trailers for 2 other projects. Like, since Doctor Strange came out, we got a Thor trailer, a She-Hulk trailer, and I mean, we're less than a week away from when we will be seeing Miss Marvel.
Yeah, and we'll be towards the end of Miss Marvel when Thor: Love and Thunder drops at the beginning of July. So it's well, we're in good form. We can take these little weeks, get to bed a little bit early at that point, or in my case, watch episode 1 of The Boys. So
there you go.
But yeah, so again, thank you all for joining us for this episode, and we want to Well, Brent, I'm going to let you because you asked me to say this to the end. We did have a new patron. Yes. We did have a new patron join, and Brent wanted to kind of take this time to thank.
I did. My friend David signed up for Patreon, and I thank you, David. It's kind of funny. This morning we're working on a project together at work all week. We've been working closely together, and I said something to him this morning, and he's like, I didn't hear you. I'm listening to Star Wars right now, and he had a Star Wars podcast on. Didn't tell me what it was. I can now pretty much figure out it was Star Wars Alliance, and he happened to sign up for Patreon. Did he even mention this to me when he saw me in person? No, he didn't. But David, I do appreciate your support. We all appreciate your support, so thank you very much.
Yes, you made Katie's day and Clay's day bragging about the recent episodes of Star Wars Alliance that you were listening to. So thank you for joining the Geek Ultimate Alliance. Hope you're enjoying all that exclusive content, and welcome to the GUA Patreon. So, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brentak Prime on Twitter, on TikTok. That's pretty much where I'm at. I'm not on any of the other socials, so find me there.
Yep. Yeah, you can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, Fact or fictions you want to propose, put them all in. Our DMs are open. Continue to rate and review Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. As I quickly change the banner for our post-credits, we said we're marching towards Miss Marvel next week, so we will do kind of our hopes and predictions for Miss Marvel at that point. So we know that reviews have been positive. They've only released, I believe, 2 episodes to the critics as a heads up at that point, and mostly fairly positive across the board from what I've seen. A few little issues here or there, but this is going to be kind of a very different show than we've seen. It is, if we've seen from the trailers, it's going to be kind of geared towards a younger audience, a younger crowd at that point. So, what are you kind of hoping with this show?
Yeah, I've long thought this show is targeted mostly at kids first, at teens first, and that's fine. I'm still looking forward to it. What am I hoping for it? Ultimately, the biggest thing I'm hoping for, I feel like I already am confident is going to happen due to those early reviews. Keep the spirit of the character. The big change with the powers, right? There's a big change. Obviously, we know there's at least an homage in there, if nothing else, towards it. But I want to know, I want to see, some of those early reviews say, the power change will make sense when you see it in context. I want to see that for myself. I want to judge that for myself. I'm not as hung up on the powers. If it's truly just to differentiate from Reed, I think that's dumb. But that's, for me, that's where it's at. I'm really curious about that. Prediction-wise, I think Carol's going to show up. I think we're going to see Captain Marvel at some point, and maybe not till a credit scene. And, I guess I'll say it. I kind of hope that Monica shows up also, not all together. I want to see the 3 of them together for the first time in the Marvels, or at least that'd be where I would expect to. But just even one of them will definitely show up. But maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be both.
Yeah, my kind of hope for this is, especially the interviews the actress has done has just been so awesome. She is so excited, so passionate for her. And then it came out that she even cosplayed as Kamala Khan in a pretty darn good looking, costume.
And her friends all thought she was the Flash, like she was dressed up for Halloween or something. I'm like, come on, give me a break.
But just how passionate she is about it, how welcoming the other people of the MCU, how she was, I think they were filming next to Loki and another show at that point, and got to meet with Tom Hiddleston, and just, she is very much, she even said, I'm not even on social media, so I'm not into that kind of thing, and just wants to let the work speak for itself. Like you said, the spirit in the trailers, I think that is going to be key. I'm very curious to see, we've said it before, representation matters. How big are they going to really lean into, her Islamic faith? Are they going to just kind of make it's there, but not really go into it? Or are they going to lean hard? I have a feeling we'll see it. It'll be there. Unfortunately, I think it'll be more window dressing than it is that. And so I know that may be a sticking point with many in the community that was wanting more, kind of like, we heard some pushback with Moon Knight with members of the Jewish community saying it should have been more of this, more of that. I hear and understand from the perspective at that point, and hope that what they do show does not come off as offensive nor seem like just thrown in just because again, that is a big part of who Kamala Khan is. It is this wrestling with who she is as Kamala versus being the superhero. So to your point, I really want the spirit of the character to be intact. Power set be damned. At that point, it's not what defines her. And I think this is going to be very interesting in the sense of, we all know how Spider-Man came to be and things like that. We never really we got a very different kind of origin story for Peter Parker in that we had to take 3 movies to kind of see a different view of an origin story for him.
Right.
This one, we see a young person becoming a superhero, of which she is a fangirl of all these superheroes beyond Carol Danvers. So it's going to be very interesting because she's us. she's the fans. What does someone do when they find and get bestowed these powers? So I'm excited. I'm very much looking for kind of a different take what Marvel can do with this type of series. And hey, as we all said it before, and we've said it over and over again, these young heroes coming to be, we're marching towards something. We're marching towards the Young Avengers or Champions. I'm gonna keep beating that drum until proven wrong.
Oh, I think you're right.
So, all right. Well, episode 1 next week. Hope you all enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.